We need to admit that the gaming community has a problem, or specifically, the Nintendo community. More specifically, the community that is so obsessed with Princess Peach that they are constantly trying to fool themselves into thinking the character has become woke, or that Nintendo is paused, or that they're caving to SJWs. We've seen a handful of examples over the years. The build up to the Mario movie, and even now, people will try to tell you the portrayal of the character in the movie can be considered woke, right? There's the narrative that she is the real protagonist of the movie and could have easily done everything Mario did with like one hand tied behind her back. When even though that didn't happen, right? They took something that was a ridiculous claim to begin with, and even post release still believes it's true, right? We had that issue with like Mario Odyssey where like we had the ending leaked and people tried to pretend that like she abandoned Mario on the moon, right? Like, oh, she's such a strong, independent woman. She don't need no Mario, right? Like we had that situation, right? And now we have this. People getting upset at the American version of the Princess Peach Showtime box art, right? It is simply a face change, right? She looks more like she does in the movie. She looks a bit more intense. It's similar to like the Kirby American Kirby is hardcore phenomenon, right? Where like American audiences don't really go for titles that go for the cutesy look, right? That's not something that general audiences enjoy. So they try making the character look more intense, right? Than they do in the Japanese version, which prefers the cutesy look, right? We see this phenomenon with Kirby games all the time, right? And there are like lots of other examples of this. Like it's very common. Like Japan loves cute stuff, in America not so much. So as a result of that, it is normal for the box art to change for this reason, right? To appeal to the demographic that you're selling the game to, right? There is nothing weird about this box art at all. And yet, instantly, immediately after this box art is shown off, you have posts on Kotaku in action, you have the angry Twitter threads, you have people just spurging out over nothing, like, oh, she's woke, she's a girl boss, like, oh, they don't allow her to be feminine. What are you talking about? Like, really? Like, you saw that trailer, you saw what the game is like, you saw what what's happening in the actual game. Why are you so put off by the box art design? Right? This to me just reeks of desperation, right? This is an example to me just how desperate the woke gaming community is to pretend as if Nintendo is like the purveyor of woke content in games, the face of wokeness in gaming. Like, it's so strange to me. I was about to make a video about this as well. Like, you can notice this is an observable phenomenon where you'll see these people, like, to this day still complain about titles like Tokyo Mirage Sessions and like Fire Emblem Fates, right? Years after the fact. And meanwhile, like, similar PlayStation games, stuff like Soul Hackers 2, which is it's from the same developers as Tokyo Mirage Sessions, like that goes completely forgotten, right? Even though like it has a lot of the same problems and a lot of like the lack of real appeal to like the hardcore Western gaming market, right? Like Soul Hackers 2 is very similar to Tokyo Mirage Sessions in a lot of ways, right? But you don't see the same kind of rage. You don't see the same kind of backlash. You don't see the same kind of conspiracy. And what it comes down to is that Tokyo Mirage Sessions is a Nintendo exclusive and Soul Hackers 2 is not, right? That's basically what it comes down to. There are infinite examples of female video game characters that are infinitely more woke than Princess Peach. We're going through this process where people are like, we're gearing up for like a possible like lesbian Lara Croft reboot, right? We've seen, the average Western video game chick is just terrible. It's just a terrible design character with no appeal at all. Like, you know, has a lot more woke aspects than Peach does. And yet, for some reason, the conspiracy for the past several years is that Princess Peach is indicative that Nintendo is on the verge of becoming woke. When not only have I not seen any evidence of that, I have seen the direct opposite. Like, please keep in mind, we are just coming off like the backlash to Bayonetta 3, right? Where we saw woke audiences be upset that like Platinum Games did not cater to them, right? We saw how angry they were that Bayonetta, who has been like who audiences have been gaslit into thinking has been a lesbian since like 2014. You know, initially they were gaslit into thinking she was bisexual, right? We went through this process of Bayonetta being confirmed super straight, right? Like, it's not, they didn't even like imply that like, oh, maybe in another universe. No, they specifically said Bayonetta and Luca, her male love interest, are together in like every single multiverse. They are destined to be. And this kind of thing shits all over them, right? We got off like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the harem ending, right? Where he bangs all three of his waifus, right? We've seen how angry people get about that, right? Like, there is no doubt in my mind that Nintendo is, simply by being based, by being true to itself, by like adhering to traditional gender norms, by having characters be like they've always been, is the most anti-woke company in the industry. And right now, there are so many people that desperately don't want you to believe that desperately want you to believe otherwise, right? We've seen this dozens of times over the past couple of years, how woke accusations keep getting thrown at Nintendo even if they don't make any sense. Like, I've seen people say that like the Metroid Prime Remastered design for Samus is going to be the new standard for her going forward. Like, never mind that we got Dread recently. Never mind that like Prime Remastered is like a straight like upres of like the original game where she was also ugly as sin, right? Like, never mind that. Like, let's just that goes against the narrative, right? That is the reality we're struggling through when it comes to like this anti woke stuff. And in a lot of ways, people are just going to always pretend as if Nintendo is the problem, right? You know, you still see people accuse Nintendo of censorship. You still see them accuse them of making games for children. You see them accuse them of making games that don't appeal to them. You see them do everything they possibly can to try and pretend as if Nintendo doesn't get it, as if they're behind the rest of the industry, as if they're making games that are like offensively bad. And that simply is not the case.